All right, cool. So, welcome, man. Welcome to the Righteous Finance Show. This is the Righteous Finance Show, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We have a great show today, man. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Make sure to like, subscribe. Those buttons are all down there at the bottom of the video. So make sure you click them all at the same time. You can't do it one at a time. That doesn't work. But anyway, my guest today, I'm super excited. I'm so excited to have him on the show. I think we first connected on LinkedIn because we shared a similar interest in personal finance. I think that's how we got connected. That's how we got connected, right?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, LinkedIn is such an amazing tool.
Agree.
So he is a Millipreneur, and I think that means he's a millennial and an entrepreneur at the same time.
You could say that. Some people would say that I'm a Gen Z, but I was born on the cusp of 96, so I just consider myself a millennial.
Okay, so Genzapreneur might be the other word you have to call yourself.
Or Zillipreneur.
Actually, it's ND. Zillipreneur. Oh yeah. Right on. So he also has a website called the Millipreneur blog where he talks about reaching financial independence, financial freedom, and trying to teach people to retire early too, right? I think that's what he's gunning for too, is early retirement.
Yeah, hopefully all goes well.
And he has a YouTube channel where he makes some pretty cool videos. So you guys should all check that out. I'm going to put the link in the description. So make sure to click on that too and subscribe to all his stuff and follow his blog. But this is Anthony Lopez. So Eric, man, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's amazing to have you on. I'm super excited to have you on the show, man. So how's it going with you, man?
It's going pretty well. Just trying to work my butt off right now. Work hard on my full time, and then have my various side gigs, as you alluded to. My blog and my YouTube channel. I'm just trying to establish a brand for myself. Establish trust with my community.
Right on. How is that going?
It's going well. I started uploading YouTube videos probably just a little over a month ago, like seriously, on a weekly basis. And I started my blog, back in January before I had a camera. So
really?
Yeah, I'm just trying to put as much content out as possible that is, applicable to people now that you're sitting around at home right now, and have a lot of extra time on their hands, I assume anyway. That's why I decided to take advantage of a pretty crappy situation and the work at home situation. Yeah.
So how has the whole coronavirus thing been for you?
I'm thankful that I'm actually able to live under my parents' roof right now. I'm just basically saving up all my money. I graduated from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, last June. Now it's already been a year. It's kind of crazy. I've been just working ever since then and saving up my money so I can purchase my first investment property, and then rent out to college students, assuming that there's going to be college in person, I hope. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah,
that's going to be interesting. I heard that some universities are doing online classes for next year, like Harvard. They're doing all online instruction.
Yeah, I'm
same
just
tuition though.
Yeah, which that doesn't really make sense to me, but it's not my decision, obviously. But yeah, I'm just trying to have as much cash on hand so that when the opportunity does present itself, I'll be ready.
Wow, right on. So how's your job? Is it like safe from the virus? No risk of being like taken away or anything?
Well, we've definitely taken a hit in terms of revenue. We've changed our business model or our approach to like retention versus like net new business, like making sure that we keep our existing clients happy versus going out and getting new ones. We're still doing both, but the emphasis is on keeping our current clients happy and upselling, I guess, if you will. So, but my position so far has been secured, thankfully, and I've been able to save up money as a result.
Okay, cool. And what do you do for your full-time job?
I'm in sales for a marketing technology company in San Francisco. So I've been doing that for about a year. I've been acquiring some, cold calling and cold emailing skills, and I think that they're directly applicable to a lot of different fields. So I'm just learning how to sell myself.
Yeah, that's very useful skill. Are you like a business development consultant?
Yeah, sales development. Yeah, same thing.
Consultant. Yeah, they kind of mean the same thing. When I started off, I was working at a large enterprise software company. And I was working with, they called them business development consultants at the time.
Yeah.
And then they changed the name to sales development representatives.
Yeah, I've heard SDR, I've heard BDR, ADR, XDR. I've heard a lot of DRs.
XDR.
I don't even know what XDR stands for, but I just saw that.
Maybe I don't want to know.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh,
I
well,
never
that's
thought about
cool,
it that way.
man. And that's your first job out of college. You graduated from Cal Poly, and then you got into the
Right.
tech skill scene.
Yeah, I mean, I did an internship prior to me graduating, which actually helped me get the job itself. But in terms of like
Cool.
a real job out of college, yeah, I would say that that would be the first one.
Okay. Well, so tell me a little bit about your background. How did you end up getting to, where you are right now?
Uh, well, there's a lot. Where do you want me to start? You want me to start like when I was young, or do you want me to start
From
like just my
conception.
college? Since oh geez, okay. Man, I would say, well, my parents were immigrants. So my dad came from Guadalajara in Mexico,
Oh,
and my mom was born here, but her parents came from Mexico as well. And I, was raised in San Bruno, little, small little apartment, very humble upbringing.
yeah.
Then we moved out to the East Bay. Right now, that's where we currently are, and I grew up loving soccer. I played soccer my whole life, and it was very competitive from the get go. At least that's what my parents told me. I went to Cal Poly, like I said. I did community college for the first 2 years, and then
Okay.
went the college route. I actually was planning on going to law school. I recently pivoted. Right before I graduated, I was actually studying law. So I really wanted to go to Berkeley School of Law, but I'm just the type of guy I like to see myself as a mover and shaker, and just going to law school for another 3 years and feeling like I have to commit to, one profession for the rest of my life seemed pretty daunting. So because of that, I decided against it. But, when I was in college, it gave me purpose. Like, why am I getting really good grades? Like, having law school as like the goal, kind of made
Mhm.
sense for me at that time. But I ultimately decided against it, and fell in love with finance, but not finance in the sense that you have to like deal with numbers and like derivatives and that kind of finance, but finance of like just personal finance, being able to help people with their personal finances, if you will. And really, I feel like that is a huge issue amongst millennials and Gen Zs, and just all, the younger generations in general.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something I want to talk to you more about and get more into here. So what did you study in college?
Yeah, so I studied law.
Oh,
I
you were
actually had
studying law. Okay.
Yeah, so I studied law. I actually had a minor in entrepreneurship. So
Oh, interesting.
that was like my two things that I was interested in. I was actually interested in maybe going into IP, like intellectual property, because I figured I would be working with like entrepreneurs that are applying for patents, right? And I found out that I had to be an engineer to do that.
Oh,
And then I was thinking, okay, well maybe copyright or something along those lines, but it ultimately just didn't really make sense to me, because again, I didn't want to be tied to just one thing. I just wanted to be able to get out into the workforce and do
yeah.
whatever I wanted.
I felt the same way when I was graduating college. My family kind of wanted me, they were pushing me to go to master's degree, but I
Hmm.
was like, I want to go out and work and kind of make my own way now. I'm tired
Yeah,
of going to school.
yeah, and
But
just
that's
to
interesting. I didn't know that they studied or that they had law degrees and for undergrad. I thought there was only
well, technically it was a political science major, but the concentration was law. So
oh, I
I took
see.
a lot of legal classes, but it wasn't like a major in law. It was just like legal studies, if you will.
Okay, cool. So now
Yeah.
you're what were you gonna say just now?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay. So now you're a mover and shaker. What is a mover and shaker?
I'm just someone that can't really stay in one place, I guess.
Okay.
That's why my parents put me into soccer in the first place, is because they were like,
Oh, yeah,
dude,
because
you
you had to move
gotta,
around a lot.
gotta chill out. So I'd run around enough, then I'd be tired. But I mean, I would say the literal meaning for me is just like being able to wear different hats, learn, experience new things, and yeah,
Right.
again, not feel like I'm tied to one thing and one thing only. I have multiple different types of skills.
That's what a lot of my friends say about their relationships, that they don't want to be tied down to one relationship. I just
that's
thought of
that's a
that
little different, but I
as a
mean,
parallel.
respect respect to their decisions, I guess.
Yeah, right on. So tell me a little bit about like what you do. Now, I mean, it could be about your role, what you do in terms of sales, or it could be like what you're building with your financial,
Yeah.
what do you call it? Like is it a
Uh,
financial blog, like services? I don't know,
yeah.
whatever it is.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll just start with my full time because that's what's bringing in the money right now. And I'm an enterprise sales development representative. So I'm selling to, actually, believe it or not, I'm selling specifically to financial companies because my employers understand that I like finance. So they,
Okay, cool.
made it so that I can sell to like companies like Charles Schwab or Fidelity, et cetera. So I'm doing my best to do that. Like I said, I've been there for a year and I've sourced $1 million so far for the company. So
Nice.
I consider that a pretty big accomplishment for myself. Um, and then just pivoting to my own side gig stuff. Like I said earlier, like the Millipreneur blog, excuse me. I started that in January of this year, and just because I really understood that, like, when I would talk to my friends about finance, like, it just didn't seem like, and no shade to them, because I mean, none of us are really taught about finance unless you major in finance. And even if you
Even
major
then,
in
yeah.
finance, yeah, like it's not even really personal finance, right? So I was talking to my friends, and eventually people would start coming to me for questions regarding personal finance. So I figured, why not just take my interest in my, not, I wouldn't say expertise, I'm not an expert in personal finance, but I just really enjoy doing that, and
Oh,
then putting out to the world. So that's where the blog stemmed. And then after, my company said work from home, I said, all right, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. So started a YouTube channel. And I'm also, actually, this hasn't launched quite yet, but I also wanted to start a podcast. And I've been building out in the same way that I build out sales lists for my company. I'm doing the same way and building out, what are they called? Google Sheets of contacts and prospects that I would want to interview for my podcast. So I've been reaching
yeah,
out to them. So I've got in contact with like founder of Headspace and a couple others that I just really, really was interested in learning more about and their stories.
that's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you. But that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. It's consuming the majority of my time, and I'm just learning how to edit right now because I'm not I'm not an editor by any stretch of the word, but I'm just kind of teaching myself right now and trying to be as entertaining as possible.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm not an editor either, but I think the show turns out all right. How does
I'm
you go ahead?
I said I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. You mentioned that and the reason I asked this question is because a lot of people feel like dissatisfied with their jobs, and I think that's one of the reasons why the kind of the financial independence movement,
Hmm.
financial freedom buzzword, like
Yep.
the whole FIRE community is so appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You mentioned though that your company put you to work with financial companies because they saw that you had an interest in personal finance or finance, right?
Right.
How did that happen? Like what was the mechanism that allowed that to happen for you?
Well, I started off, very, very green. I had never done any cold calling at all, or really anything for that matter. It was my first job out of college. So I had only been a server previous to that. And I was trying to convince people to, take me on as an SDR when I had no cold
Right.
calling experience, which is it's a big problem.
Like a
Um,
database server or a app server?
sorry, I didn't
I'm just
understand.
kidding.
Oh, I get it now. Yeah, you got the joke. But I started as a mid market rep, and then after like 6 7 months, I got, I guess, promoted, if you will, to enterprise. And at that point, I was still selling to tech companies, but I had a few accounts that, like, financial accounts that I sold to like relatively quickly, or at least I sourced meetings for really quickly. And my manager saw that, and they already, like, I had already spoken with them in person about like my interest in finance, but I just never thought it would like translate into anything. I just, they knew that I liked it, right?
Yeah, right
And
on.
this was before I had any content out either, like the Millipreneur blog or anything. Um, and yeah, I think it was like sometime in January, February, that one day there was like, hey, so we're moving you to enterprise finance instead. Like, you're going to be taking like financial accounts strictly. I was like, oh, awesome, cool. And I just, hopped into that and been seeing some pretty good success so far.
That's awesome. So you basically you let your manager know or your higher ups know that, hey, this is what I like. I'm interested in this stuff.
Pretty much. I mean, it was never like I went to them and was like, "Hey, I like finance." It was more
Yeah.
like we would be like sitting down at lunch eating, and I would talk to them about finance. So
Yeah.
they just kind of, based
Yeah.
on my interest, like in what I would talk about, they kind of assumed, and they were right. So
Yeah, interesting, man. That's cool. I think that's a even though you weren't intentional about, telling them, "Hey, I like finance and this is what I like." You made that communication happen, whether you intended to or not.
I had no idea it was going to, like I said,
Yeah.
translate into anything, but it worked out in my favor.
Yeah, right on, man. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
how do you like your job? How do you enjoy it?
I think that it's great. I really do enjoy, working at the company that I first started in. I think it was essential to have that first step. Coming out of college, with no experience, they, were. I'm thankful that they took me on because it was kind of a bet on for them because I mean a lot of companies would rather take more experienced SDRs or people that are already got more time in the field, and I had none. So yeah, I'm thankful that I was given the opportunity. And the first day that I started, I ran straight to a call room just to demonstrate and just to show that I'm not afraid to make calls to random people. And I didn't even really understand what I was selling at the time, but I just wanted to take that initiative and show them that I was what I was capable of.
Yeah, that's great, man. So right now, there's supposedly the job market is kind of difficult. It
Mhm.
might be harder for people to get in interviews and to get job offers now because everybody is work from home and companies are downsizing,
Yeah.
doing layoffs and furloughs.
Hmm.
Um, you sort of started your job right before, maybe like a year ago, right before this whole
Yep.
thing happened. But
Yeah.
how, I mean, if somebody is graduating now, what is it now? It's July right now, right? So
Hmm.
people had graduated just very recently.
Yeah. May, June. Hmm.
In 2020, coming in as a new graduate looking for a job in tech or whatever field, like what would you tell somebody that's going through that process right now?
Oh man, that's tough because I've never, been through it. But if I was in their shoes, I'll just tell you then, I'll tell you what I did before the pandemic. So I was, while I was in school, I started in January starting to look for a job. I knew that I had 6 months to get one, and I interviewed
Mhm.
with probably, I would say, at least 15 companies.
Wow.
Um, so I, definitely expanded, every time I did it I got better, right? So
Yeah.
even if you don't necessarily like really want to work for a company, I would say still interview with them
Yeah.
because at the end of the day you might not do that well on that particular interview, but on the next one, and let's say it's some company that you really want to work for, then you would have the experience of interviewing with the previous company that you didn't really want to work for. So I would say to just interview as many places as you can, get that knowledge under your belt, and learn what works because interviewers, they ask similar questions, and you should always have like a list of things in the back of your mind of like, no, when they ask you, oh, like name a time that you failed and like how you learned from it, or I don't
Yeah.
know, like stuff like questions like that. Just you'll start hearing over and over again, and it'll just become second nature. So like that's what I learned for 6 months, and also just keep grinding. Like the company that I'm working for right now actually approached me, believe it or not. Like I was interviewing with a bunch of other companies for months. Some of them, like their cycles were like a month to 2 months of
Mm.
just getting the job. And this startup comes up to me and they reach out to on LinkedIn. And I was sitting in my con law class, and the VP of sales development reached out to me and he says, "Hey Eric, I was looking at your profile, thought you would be a good fit. You open to chatting." I was like, sure, why not? So we chatted. Within 2 weeks, I have the job, and I was interviewing
Wow.
for like 5 months with like a bunch of other different companies. But because he approached me that way, it was the VP of sales development. The compensation was right, and I just really enjoyed speaking with him. I took it. So
Wow. That's
yeah,
powerful, man.
yeah, it just goes to show that like it isn't always the company that you like for example, like I guess in other words, it's not always the company that you really want to work for that's going to end up being like the best fit for you. Like
Yeah.
that would be one of my biggest pieces of advice too.
Usually nothing ever goes to plan.
Yeah,
But I've
exactly.
also heard that the harder you work, the more luckier you get.
I agree with that
It
statement
seems
too.
that
Yeah, I agree in luck. I agree with there being such thing as luck, but more luck comes to people that work harder.
right. Like if you were just sitting around and not actively interviewing, and it seems like you were active on LinkedIn too,
Yeah,
like connecting and maybe had a, a better than just blank profile, which was your resume. He found you in some way and reached out to you and was like, "Hey, Eric, you want to come work for us?"
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. They snagged you.
Yeah, and I was already in like a late stage with a lot of, I would say like I was in serious late stages with two different companies that I had narrowed
Okay.
down that I really really wanted to work for, and then this other
Okay.
company came and was just like, I like I said, I really enjoyed speaking to the VP of Sales Development, and it seemed like he was everything that I wanted to learn, a person that I really wanted to learn from, and on top of that, the commissions and the OTE were just like um, very competitive. They
Yeah.
paid much more than the others, so it was a no-brainer
Wow.
for me.
So you're living with your parents now,
Yep, thankfully,
and why? Thankfully.
because I can save all my money. And like I said, I really wanted to. I've been gunning for the past year to purchase my first investment property.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of my friends will look at me and be like, "Dude, like you're buying a house already? What are you talking about?" And I like being that. I like being a person that people will look to and be like, "Hey, like he did it. Why can't we do it?" Right?
Yeah.
So because I'm living with my parents, I'm able to save up, 95% of my income. I'm a very, very very minimalistic when it comes to almost everything, like clothing, going out, like all that good stuff. Like I will find ways to make sure that I don't spend money.
So I got to ask you because I also moved in with my parents when I got super crazy about financial independence.
Mhm.
What's your savings right now?
Like the actual monetary, like dollar amount.
Oh, percentage wise.
Oh, like 90, like I said,
Oh
like
wow.
around
Okay.
like 95%.
You beat me. I got to like 87%.
Yeah. Well, especially right now, because it's the pandemic, it's like there's nothing I could really spend on even if I wanted to. But
Oh
really
yeah,
before that,
true.
like, I mean, I don't focus on anything else really at the moment.
So when you graduated college, you went directly to live with your parents?
Yep. Yeah. And I asked them for 2 years max. Yeah.
Oh, okay. How were they, like, what do they think of the idea?
They were supportive of it. I mean, they said, if you weren't saving up money and you were just coming and, spending all your money on stupid stuff and just taking advantage of the situation that we're giving you, then at that point we'd have a problem. But because they understand my plan and they see like what I'm striving for, then they don't have a problem with it.
So you have a 2-year like cap on it,
I mean, honestly,
basically.
like even if it went a little bit over, they probably would be okay with it. But like that was what I asked for initially, and
Yeah.
that's what I plan on being able when I plan on actually being able to have 20% down on a $700,000 house. That's what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah. Right on. Do most of your friends live with their parents too?
Um, yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow. Really?
Yeah, I mean, everyone like not most of my friends, but a lot of my friends are still in college or like going to or just graduated this past couple like literally last month, and they're coming into an economy that none of us have seen before. So yeah, they moved back home.
Wow. Interesting. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're living in the Bay Area, like it's so expensive over here. Like you can't find rent for less than a G. So yeah,
Well, you can. It's possible.
it's possible. It's just, I mean, it depends on the location too, like
Yeah.
that you're in. Like if you want to move to like Pittsburgh or Antioch, then you should be fine, like to find that. But where I live anyway, it's rents are around $1,000.
Do you work in downtown San Francisco?
I not. Well, my dad's car's going off. I work I work by Embarcadero.
Oh, okay. So you work in the city, right?
Yeah,
That's
well,
it.
I
Yeah.
used to. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
really
Well, not
do that
anymore.
anymore.
Right. But yeah,
Yeah,
you can find pretty cheap places in San Francisco. It's possible. Like my friend has a place right now that's going for 1,200.
yeah. Well, that's still not cheap, but yeah, I mean, cheap for San Francisco for sure.
So how do you like you want your friends to look at you and other people to look at you and say that, I can do it too if Erica's doing it, right?
Yeah. I think that being a positive influence on, as many people as possible. Yeah.
But most people that come to the city or that live in the city and work in the city have, they came from other places. They came here because, they want to experience the city life. They want to get the high paying jobs and work in tech and booming
Yep.
industry and that
Mhm.
kind of thing. They don't have the ability to live like with their parents, right? And basically pay nothing for rent.
Right.
And that was one of the things that I struggled with when I was, when I was saying like, oh yeah, if you can, I can do it, you can do it too, right?
Hmm.
Is that people are like, why, you're living with your parents, man. You're super lucky.
Yeah. I guess the way that I would address that is, I don't know what you're going through because I'm not living on my own. However, if I was, then it would be the same. I would be living the same way.
Yeah,
Like I would be spending what I had to spend, to live there, and then I would be saving the rest.
yeah,
It's just ultimately like when I hear people like rebut like some of the things that I say, like, oh, like you're lucky you live with your parents, you're lucky you're this, you're lucky you're that. Like it's like it feels like everybody wants to give themselves a cop out. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
and not to look down on anyone, like you guys can choose to do whatever you want with your money, but ultimately like don't tell me that I'm, super privileged and because I could easily be spending all the money that I make right now. Like I'm
yeah.
saving it all for a reason. And even my parents are literally telling me to go out more. So that's how you know. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, what you said is spot on, man. Because a lot of people in your situation, they would take the money that they save on rent and like buy other things,
Exactly. So
like have $1,000 car payment instead of $1,000 rent payment.
yeah, my car's
Essentially.
paid off. Honda Civic, 2007.
Yeah, that's very deep what you just said.
I'm glad I could provide you value.
Because you can literally, like, I think if somebody just copies what you do, um, ideologically and concept wise, and they can have the same results. It might take them longer. Actually, well, it will
Yeah.
take them longer
Yeah.
because they have a higher expenses on their
Mhm.
income statement, right? But
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
results will be the same.
everyone's timeline is different, but if you apply the same principles, there's no reason why they can't work for you either.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. Um, yeah. You should keep your living with your parents to 2 years.
Yeah. Especially right now. I mean, it's
Don't
nothing
extend it out
certain.
longer than. So when you buy your rental property, investment property, you're going to move into it.
Yeah. So my plan was, well, before COVID, my plan was to buy a property within a mile radius of my whole community college, and then I would rent out to students and then live in one of the rooms. And the goal would be to essentially live rent free by doing so.
Wow, right on.
Yeah, while also accumulating equity in the property because all the money that they're giving me is going towards the mortgage.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, it's gonna
It's
be an
like living
experience.
with college students all over again.
Exactly. Yeah. Except it's my house now, so I have to I have to be more responsible.
Yeah, you might end up being like their parents.
Yeah, I don't
Or
want
they
to do that. I really don't. I want to be. I don't want to be the cool landlord either. But at the same time, it's like it's okay. It's okay to have a little bit of fun, but you got to lay the law down somehow.
yeah, hopefully you don't get the tenants that will like break the hole in the wall
Yeah, no.
with
I mean,
the
I'm
massive
gonna do
parties
my
and that
best
kind of
to
thing.
screen them. But again, it's gonna be my first investment property, so I'm gonna be making
Yeah.
mistakes. I'm ready for that, but it's what I want. So
Yeah, that's awesome that you're doing it at such a young age too.
I appreciate it.
Because if you keep going, you're gonna learn a lot more from it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit before about um, how our generation, like the millennials and the Gen Z, like they lack financial literacy,
Hmm.
right? And um, so tell me more about that. Like, why do you think we lack this financial literacy, and what do we do about it?
Well, the simple answer is it's not taught in school. I mean, when I was in high school, there was a personal finance class, a single personal finance class. It was for seniors only, and it was considered like the easy class that nobody like people only took just to get an easy A, and
Yeah,
they wouldn't really retain anything from it. So Again, I don't think that we can blame people for not knowing, because again, it wasn't taught to them. However, it is kind of their obligation at some point to get with it and look for the information. I mean, eventually
You mean the school or the
no,
individual?
the individual. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's the school's responsibility to teach personal financing school, like from the get-go. But since they're not, like, now we as the individual have to go out and seek that information
Yeah.
ourselves. But sometimes finance isn't the most exciting concept for a lot of people. But I think just understanding the bare minimum, like starting a Roth IRA and saving your money, even with just that, that's a good start. So, and then potentially participating in 401k matches and whatnot. And then the thing that ends up happening though is, like, once you start going down the rabbit hole and really understanding like the basics, you want to learn more. At least that's what it was for me.
Yeah. So what do you mean the rabbit hole?
Because there's just so much information on the web, like, and that's kind of why I wanted to start my channel too, so I could like take all that information and make it very easily digestible. Because me, when I was 18, like, I didn't know what a Roth IRA was. Like, I had to figure that out myself. Like, I looked it up on YouTube, and I looked it up on just the regular Google search and try to figure out what it was. So the internet's changed over the past few years. I think that there's a lot more financial YouTubers now. Graham Stephan and Nate O'Brien, just to name a couple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I strive to be one of them.
Do you want to? I don't know who the second guy is, but I know who Graham Stephan is.
And Nate O'Brien is essentially a younger version of Graham Stephan. I think he's like my age, 22, 23. And I think he lives out in like Philadelphia. And he's, essentially doing the same thing, just, probably, he probably is more relatable to like the younger audiences, while Graham, since now Graham is, I think, his 30s now,
Oh, he's old.
I guess older than me, but yeah, he can give advice to people in their 30s now, because now he's 30, right? Or at least give it to them, knowing that he has had this experience of going through his 20s.
You didn't learn any personal finance in school. How about when you were growing up? Like your parents, what did they teach you? What did they not teach you about money and
Yeah.
finance?
Interestingly enough, like, I guess I didn't. I guess I kind of uncovered that I liked finance before I knew that I liked finance, because I always wanted to know, like, from my parents, like, I wanted to know the expenses, like, that we had in the house, and like
Okay.
what we could like cut out in order to save more money and stuff like that. I always had like this. I used to have this this M&M. I don't know how to describe it, but
Like
I remember I
ATM
bought.
machine?
Okay, yes and no, because I turned it into an ATM machine. It wasn't supposed to be. It was literally like an M&M jar, and it, like, you would just like push on this button and M&Ms would come out. And when I finished them, I turned it into a coin jar and a money jar. So I started that when I was like 4 or 5, and saved my money, my whole life. Like, I really didn't spend anything, because I just liked the idea of saving. So again,
Wow.
I knew that I liked saving money from the beginning, but I just didn't know I liked finance, I guess.
Did you get an allowance, or how did you get money when you were younger?
No, my parents always said, no, we allow you to live under our roof. We allow you.
That's the allowance.
Yeah, that's my allowance. No, I didn't get any money like that. All the money that I got was either from like doing little side gigs for my dad, like, maybe mowing the lawn, or just doing my chores. I don't know. But even then, like, he was just like, you live here, so you should do your chores for free, right?
Yeah.
But either that or birthday money, pretty much.
Wow, that's awesome, man. A lot of parents will not make their kids work like that.
Well, my dad, again, he's an immigrant, and he came from Mexico, and he's like, yeah, this is what I did. I used to mow people's lawns. I used to, wash people's cars. I used to do X, Y, and Z. And he's like, I'm not just going to give you money. Like, you have to earn it.
Right. Are you going to do the same with your kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right
And
on.
if anything, like, I'll probably I'll push them even more to start their own business from young age, because I think that, and play a lot more Monopoly.
Yeah.
I think that's a good first start.
And that game, Rich Dad, or not Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but Cash Flow. I think the game is called Cash Flow.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Robert Kiyosaki's
Yeah,
book.
I mean, essentially, yeah, it's the rich dad poor dad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I remember
awesome.
doing that in college actually one time after reading his book. I was like, I want to check it out, see what it does. And yeah.
Yeah. So, but did your parents like teach you? Because you said you had to learn about what a Roth IRA was on your own.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know how much like education did you get from them growing up?
In terms of finance, I wouldn't say like that much. They did help me when I was 18 years old to apply for a credit card and start building my credit then, which I'm glad that they did because now my credit history is much longer.
Okay.
But in terms of just like the nitty gritty details, I wouldn't say that much. But that's also partially due to the fact that they weren't doing it themselves. So like I would just like for example like um, we helped I helped to like spark some interest in my dad's mind in terms of like paying off his mortgage quicker. So we like helped. We did this thing called the method where I essentially loan out a certain amount of money to my dad, and then he takes that money, puts it down on the house, and it like lowers his the amount of years that he actually has to pay the loan.
Yeah.
Uh, so because of me loaning out money to him, like we've reduced his mortgage from 22 years after refinancing to 9 years. So just stuff like that, like just me being like so interested in these kinds of things, it has kind of sparked their interest as well. So I've learned
Yeah.
as much.
Wow.
I've learned as much from them as they've learned from me in terms of finance, if you will.
Right on.
Yep.
So you're kind of like the financial light in the family. Now you're making things like happen, making the debt less.
I'm trying. Again, like some people like it more than others, but um, yeah, I want to be a good example for for my little cousins as well, and my little sister. So
Well, one of the things that I have found is that people don't really see the connection between like because they want a lot of things. People want many things. They want certain lifestyles,
right.
but they don't see the connection between like getting that and money, for example.
Yeah, well, I call that delayed gratification. So essentially, what are you willing to give up today to live a better tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? Like, and that's the way that I'm living my life right now. I'm still enjoying the process. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not taking like trips every year. I'm not buying expensive things, like because I see the value of having more later than having what I want right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And because I'm actually really bad for the economy because of that. Because I don't spend money. So right now,
That's
yeah,
why the stock market went down.
yeah. Well, the Fed has lowered interest rates significantly as a result because they want to make sure that people keep spending money, right? But I never spent money to begin with, so I'm not good for the economy.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about financial freedom.
Okay.
That's something that you want. You desire financial freedom, right?
Yes, sir.
And you want to retire early.
Retire. Yeah.
Retire. You want to retire.
Yeah, retire early. Yeah, well, retire early, but when I say retire, in quotations, because my definition of retirement is different than a lot of people's, I think.
Okay. Well, what is your definition of retirement?
Yeah. Retirement for me is being able to, well, first reach financial freedom and not be reliant on a salary to live your life.
Okay.
Like, so for example, I could, quit my job and I could live off of all of the income sources that I've created, and only work when I have to versus when I want, excuse me, work when I want to versus when I have to.
Okay.
So I think that just having that freedom and that liberty to work on my own terms, that's retirement. It doesn't mean like I'm gonna just not do anything. It just means that I'm able to live on my own terms and make my own schedule, 100%.
Okay. And financial freedom seems like a component then of retirement. Like
Yeah. If
you
yeah.
you need financial freedom before you're able to retire, as in your definition.
Right. Well, for me, if you're still reliant on that paycheck, you're not financially free, and then you
Okay.
can't retire. Right.
Okay.
Like if I need my employer's salary to pay my bills, then I'm reliant on that employer, so I'm not financially free.
So when you retire, what do you want to do? Like for you, for Eric, like what does living life on your own terms mean?
That's that's actually a really good question. I haven't really thought into like what I would actually do. All I know is that the things that I'm doing right now and then building, if I'm able to make them successful, I would like to continue doing that and just be a positive influence on, the incoming generations. That, because I mean, the people before me, like a lot of people have a ton of debt, man. Like a lot of students are saddled with thousands and sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that people know, younger people know that there are other options. You don't have to necessarily go to a 4-year right off the bat. You can do a community for 2 years like I did and then transfer, or
Yeah.
and apply to a bunch of scholarships. Or you may not even need to go to college in the first place. You might do a trade school, or your passion may lie elsewhere, but it doesn't mean that you need to go for getting into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt for something that you're not even going to use after college. So that's I cover that in some of my videos too. Just like, if you want to go to college, I would do it for like something like a professional degree. Like if you wanted to be an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. But otherwise, like me majoring in liberal arts, like the feeling was that nobody knew what they were going to do outside of college.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know what I want to do
Yeah. Cause like,
out of
oh,
college.
I'm a liberal arts major. I'm a liberal arts. I'm in the liberal arts college. And I'm a poli-sci major. Like, unless I go into politics or go into law, then what am I going to do? Right. So I was lucky that, I found other interests outside of college, and college basically was just the stepping stone. And it taught me how to learn and how to process information. Not necessarily like I didn't retain all the information that I had to memorize, right? But it just taught me how to, find information, college read, as I used to say, and
College jury.
college read. So it's like you like
College read.
skim and like you just find the more important things from that.
Well, you find the facts to support your evidence, or
Right.
you find the evidence to support your conclusion.
Right. And you don't
what I mean?
necessarily have to read the whole thing. You just,
Yeah.
right. And that's true. Go on.
No, I would do that for my essays. I had a conclusion written, and then I would go search for the supporting evidence.
Yep. So you don't have to necessarily read the whole article or the whole book or watch the whole video. You just want to pick and choose the things that are relevant to you.
So how did college teach you to learn? I guess that's what you said.
Well, it definitely taught me critical thinking skills, because I wanted to go to law school, so I had to debate a lot. So I had to get better at using the English language and being persuasive and getting what I want. And that's why I naturally pivoted to sales, because that, sales is a lot of persuasion, right? But yeah, other than that, like having 4 or 5 classes at one time, sometimes you can't read everything that they assign you. You just don't have enough time, or you procrastinate, which everybody's guilty of every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I just had to learn to, pick and choose where to put my time and retain it as soon as possible.
Interesting. Because I've heard that a lot, that college, like people say that, oh, college is where I learned how to think.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't think college teaches a lot of people how to think. I certainly didn't learn how to think from college.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Because for me, college taught me how to like I said before with the college reading, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like find the evidence to support. I wanted to say something, then I
Right.
would go and find the evidence to like support my conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't really, I don't know, it didn't really require me to go beyond that and look at the rest of the world and find evidence against my conclusion.
That makes sense. I mean, for me specifically, since I was in law, that was a component of the argument of the debate. Being able to dismantle the opposition, you need to understand the opposing argument, right? So it might be major specific, but that was just that was my experience. But also, just on a side note, like you can't teach somebody to be an entrepreneur. Ultimately, like that just comes from within. That's just something like I minored in entrepreneurship, but most people in the classes won't be entrepreneurs because it's not easy. And I wouldn't even consider myself an entrepreneur really, because I still rely on that salary, right? I just like to do side gigs at the moment in hopes of one day being able to, live off of those solely and truly be an entrepreneur at that point and create something.
Yeah, I know. And it seems like you got stuff to do after retirement, or like when you retire.
Yeah. Again, it's not just going off and going to a beach and kicking back for the next.
Yeah, the normal image of retirement that you think.
Well, retirement changed just like, I mean, it's with the passing of time, you know?
Yeah, I'm not retiring. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm over that. So I want to ask you a couple more questions.
Sure.
What is oh, actually, I want to ask you this first. So we talked a little bit about like responsibility for financial literacy. Who do you think is ultimately responsible for teaching financial literacy?
Well, teachers, but the thing is like, they're not prompted to teach it. That's the thing. It's like, that's not in the curriculum. So yeah, it might be their responsibility to teach it right, but ultimately it's the government, you know, supporting that, right? Supporting funding of financial literacy, basic financial concept courses. Like it has to start from ground zero. Like they have to, you know, talk about saving money and difference between a debit and a credit card from the get-go, because you hear horror stories of these kids in like middle school maxing out these credit cards because they don't know what they're doing. Right. So I think it starts, you know, from a very young age, understanding what money is, make it tangible, not just cards, you know, like make it something where they can feel, right? Feel that it's a real thing. Because now you can literally just go onto your phone now and just click a button. Oh, I just spent $1,000. Like that's not real. Like doesn't seem real to somebody that has never handled money before, right?
Right.
So
So
I
it's
think
the
that what?
so it's the is it the teachers or the government's
Well, it goes hand in hand. I mean,
responsibility?
it's the government's responsibility to fund schools so they mandate those courses, but then it's the teacher's responsibility to actually take that mandate and, you know, teach it appropriately, right?
Hmm.
I would
Okay.
say both.
Okay. What is money?
Anything that has value. And really, like honestly, time is money, right?
Time
I
is money.
Yeah, time is money. You can never buy time. I
You can
think
buy money, right?
sorry?
You can buy money, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can forex, right? You can buy different types of currency and stuff, but
They
I,
advertise those silver and gold coins that you can buy for some money. That's money.
Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin or yeah, gold, silver. Don't buy
Yeah.
oil right now. But yeah, I mean, and anything that somebody sees value in, really. Well, not necessarily because I see value in my family, right? And they're not money, but you know what I mean. Like it has to be like something that they can barter with, something that you can even exchange, if you will, that has value to it.
Okay. So it's a means of exchange.
Yeah, in a sense, just something that has monetary, like something that everybody else universally accepts that there's value in this dollar or peso or yen or whatever, and like
Hmm.
anything that has value that can be used as an exchange for goods.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Um, what is an emergency fund?
I would say 6 to 9 months of your salary, just in the event of something catastrophic happening, like freaking pandemic, for example.
Right. Okay. So it's 6 to 9 months. Like, what do you mean by that?
Like 6 to 9 months of your salary. So if you're making $100,000, divide that by 6 to 9 months, and that's how much you have in there.
And how do you make one?
You save. You start saving from the get-go. I mean, I've said it in my videos before, like before you start a Roth IRA or before you start like investing in your 401k, have an
Yeah.
emergency fund, especially if you're living on your own. Like because then
Yeah.
pulling money out,
Especially in that case.
yeah, like pulling out from a Roth isn't as bad, like because a Roth IRA could be used as an emergency fund as well, because you could pull out money from it, like pull out the principal, not the interest, right, without having any repercussions or being, you know, assessed any penalties.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would just advise for most people to just do the, you know, the 6 to 9 months in a savings account, preferably high growth, like an Ally or a.
Mm.
I have mine with Capital One right now because of this recent promotional offer that they offered. So
What is so do you is your emergency fund 6 to 9 months of your salary?
probably more at this point, yeah. But I wouldn't even call it an emergency fund because that's the fund that I'm going to be using to buy the house. So emergency fund, investment fund. I'm living. I'm okay. Like I'm thankfully again I have my parents to as a safety net right now, which again not everybody has. But if
Right.
if it wasn't, If I didn't have that, I'd still have the emergency fund,
So your emergency fund is also your like your savings for your house down payment. It's like
right.
an investment as well, emergency fund and investment.
Right. But you're always going to want to have cash on hand. Obviously, the
Very
first thing you're
interesting.
going to make is going to take money out of that, but I just need
Yeah.
to I need to feel like I need to go out and not have a safety net. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and that's what my first investment's going to be.
Okay. Cool. Hypothetical question. Let's just say that in a year that another COVID happens or something, whatever,
Yeah.
and you get laid off,
hmm
and then your parents say, "All right, well, your 2 years is up now. You gotta go."
Yeah, and I've thought about that before. Like let's say I bought a house, right? And then 3 months later I get laid off, right?
Yeah.
Um, I've thought about it. And that's why I'm working so hard on my side gigs right now. And that's why I have, emergency fund, right? That's why I save up 95% of my money.
Yeah.
And if I'm living rent free, then I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like I won't have to pay for my expenses, my living expenses, because somebody else is paying for them, right? So hypothetically, like I would be okay in that sense because I wouldn't have to pay a mortgage and I could live there, right? So that's the ideal plan because at that point it's recession proof unless people leave. Then
Yeah.
at that point you're screwed. Yeah.
Yeah. If they move in with their parents or they go home or something, then you got to find other people. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
going to be trouble.
Yeah, it could be.
But
But
glad that you're thinking about it. You've thought about that question before.
yeah, well, the alternative would always be just to get like a duplex, and then just rent out one side and then live in the other.
Yeah.
So that's an alternative. Let's say if the pandemic, extends and there's no school in person for another year or more, then at that point I could look into that because people are still always going to need houses and living, so
Right.
shelter. So
Yeah. Yeah. Man, yeah. You're the nice thing about having a lot of money is that you're going to have options
yeah,
compared
yep.
to somebody who like is living paycheck to paycheck kind of thing.
Yep. I think I remember reading a statistic. I think it's almost 90% of people in California are living paycheck to paycheck. And that was before COVID.
90%.
90%.
Oh, that's higher than the national average.
Yeah.
That's crazy because California is supposedly one of the wealthiest states in the
Yeah,
country
but
too.
it's controlled by a minority, very, very small portion of the population.
Yeah.
So
Wow. That's
yeah.
nuts. 90%.
Yeah. And I mean I saw that like 6 months ago. So I can't imagine it got any better.
No, not now.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to come into hard times or harder times because of when the whole unemployment benefits
Yeah.
wear out. I don't know. I think people got a little bit lazy because they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I don't have to go to work.
Yeah, and it was kind of unusual that a lot of my friends who became unemployed were making more money than when they were employed. So that didn't make
Wow, yeah.
but
That's that
um,
that's incorrect.
yeah, but I mean, now you can see why people would rather just not go to work, right? Because
Yeah,
they get more money from just sitting around, right? So the government essentially has incentivized them not to look for work at that point.
right. And how do you feel about that whole situation? Like people just getting unemployment and not having to go to work.
That's a very complicated question. I mean, because on the one hand, you want to be able to help people out that are struggling, but on the other hand, you don't want people to take advantage of the system and not work. So because ultimately, the people that are working, they have to pay the burden in taxes, right, of the people that decide not to, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So there's it's conflicting. I couldn't answer that with 100% certainty because there's just so many variables, so many factors to it.
Yeah, that's a good point though. I didn't think about that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna move into a section of the show called the RFQs,
Okay.
the rapid fire questions, and then we'll
Really
go into the after show. Ooh,
cool.
ooh, the after show. Ooh. All right, so
Sounds like the after party that I always missed.
yeah, the after show. Your parents are saying that you should go out more, so we're gonna go to the after show.
There you go. Snap out of it.
Yeah. All right, so they're just kind of like yes or no questions, whatever comes to mind. Answer how
Okay.
you wish, right?
So just yes or no, and I don't say anything else.
Well, not all of them are yes or no, but they're in the same like similar vein. You can, say
Do I have
whatever
to
you want
explain my answer, or do I just say yes or no?
if you want. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Cool.
Yeah. It's not like you have to say yes or no.
Okay.
Or it's not like, well, you do have to say yes or no, but it's not like you have to only say yes or no. You can say,
Right.
you can
Gotcha.
add explanation
Okay.
or whatever
Sure.
you want. All right. So ready?
Yep.
All right. Are you rich?
No.
You're not rich.
No.
Okay. Is money time?
It's money time. Time is money. Is money time? No,
Money is not time,
I don't think so.
but time is money.
Time is money.
So time is money.
I guess
Time,
money. I guess money could buy you time theoretically. Yeah. No. Well, I know. I guess it could be time. Yeah, because you can. Yeah. No, money is time because you can purchase like.
money's time.
Have you read like the 4 Hour Work Week? Like
Yeah.
being able
No, I
to.
haven't, but I feel like people have talked about it so much that I basically have read it.
Yeah. I would. Yeah. I
A
changed my answer
college read it.
because you can outsource your work, and if you have money, then that buys you time. Yeah. I would say.
So money is time.
Yeah.
So yes. Okay, final answer.
Yeah. Fine answer.
All right. Would the world be a better place if everybody had financial freedom?
Yeah.
It
I think so.
would.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. I think that
Interesting.
if everybody had financial freedom, but the one caveat is they have financial freedom, but they, I guess you can't mandate this because you have financial freedom. So you guess you could pick and choose when you work, right? But the only way that it would work is if people were still contributing to society, right? Like, because the incentive for people to work is to make money, right? And if money is not a variable anymore, then what incentive is there to work, right?
So,
So well, I guess if you relied on human nature, the answer would be no, because I don't think that people would work.
okay.
But if we were perfect human beings, I would say yeah, because then people would still contribute, they'd still work, even though they don't have to, and it would still advance society one way or another. I know that's a lot to take in. That was kind of a complicated answer, but
Yeah,
that's
so I'm an engineer. I only work with ones or zeros. So would the world be a better place if everyone had financial freedom?
again, I think it comes down to, you know, I would just have I would have to say no, just because I don't think that progress would be made. Honestly,
Okay.
like I wish,
Interesting.
I could say yes, but I don't think that people would work if they didn't have to. Honestly,
Okay, interesting. Okay. Do you love what you do?
yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, I love creating. You know, I love being. Again, that's why I ask. Can I explain? Because I'm difficult. I love creating. I love, putting the right foot forward and establishing a brand. I don't love sales, but I think it's important. I think it's vital to your success. So, but I would say that I love what I'm doing right now for the most part. Yeah.
So you love some of what you do, but not all of it.
Yeah. I don't think everybody loves everything that they do, but I would say I love most of what I do.
Okay. So yes, is that a yes or a no?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Should married couples join all financials?
Should married couples join what? Sorry?
All financials.
Oh, so like not get a prenup?
No, I mean like join their bank accounts, have one set of financial statements,
Oh man.
share a budget.
When the statistic is nearly 50% that people get divorced, I would say no. I think that taking money out of the equation is actually better than keeping it together, and that's
Okay.
I think so. But then people might call me like heartless for that, but I'm just looking at the statistics.
So no, because you're almost 50% likely to get a divorce.
Right, and you don't want to. Obviously, you don't want to have that mindset going into a marriage. Like you want to, if you're getting married, the intention is to make it work, right? But if you're looking at it from an outside perspective and taking emotions out of it, like the logical thing is to keep finances separate.
Okay, interesting. Should you sign a prenup before marriage?
Again, I think that goes hand in hand with the previous. I think Well, it's up to you. Like if, like, say for example, like my parents came from, they didn't have much, right? And they grew together. So what was the point of a prenup, right? At
Hmm.
that point. Like, but if let's say for example you have a multimillionaire and you have somebody that makes nothing, at that point
Just
it
in a
makes sense.
pauper.
Yeah. And again, it sucks because it's like you don't want to set that as like the precedent for your marriage. But at the same time, like a lot of people that are wealthy have gotten screwed over by their emotions and not doing that. And then
Right.
men or women alike will take advantage of that situation.
I agree.
Yep.
So should you sign a
Um,
prenup?
I mean, I would if the situation was, again, it depends, but I would say in the majority of situations, yeah.
Yeah, because you're gonna have a lot of assets, more so than people your age. So you would, but people should people in general?
I think it's ultimately every person's decision and who they're marrying and what their financial status is. But like,
Okay,
I would say in most cases, like keeping finances as separate as possible is probably a smart move.
interesting. Okay, is money the root of all evil?
No.
Does evil exist?
Yes.
Okay. Is the Earth flat or round?
Round. I hope.
Would would you become a flat earther for $7 million?
No, I honestly I couldn't live with the ridicule. Or maybe I would just, fly to some foreign country and just hide.
You'd reach financial independence.
Sorry, what was that?
You'd reach financial independence,
Oh yeah, with 7 million. If I someone said
probably.
to me 7 million right now, I'd reach financial independence.
Yeah, well, that's
Even
what
here,
would happen if you became a
yeah,
right.
even here, I wouldn't have to leave the country to do that.
But you wouldn't change your mind. You wouldn't become a flat earther for seven
Nah,
million dollars.
not worth it. I'd rather I'll do it for more noble causes.
Like $50 million.
I don't think the money amount changes anything.
Okay, all right.
Because I like, for example, like I wouldn't be a reality TV show like star. Like even if I make it, millions of dollars, I don't want to be known for that.
Oh,
That's
okay. Reality TV star.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Okay.
do it. Like a Kardashian or
Oh, I see.
like
Yeah, that
I
was very
wouldn't do it.
specific. So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
And no shade to people who like that stuff. I just don't want to be known as that. So
Yeah, right on.
yeah,
Um, but it could be you could have it be finance and teach people about finance. Like imagine that.
a reality TV show
A
that's
reality TV show about
no one would
like
watch it.
financial lives of people.
No one would watch it.
You can make it interesting. Like
Maybe.
there's love life on the TV show, there's
Yeah, but that's
drama.
exciting. People like
Yeah.
women love that stuff, man.
So we just have to get them to like,
Finance, good luck.
oh, yeah.
I mean,
Somehow it's possible, I'm
some
sure.
women like it, but I'm shit. I mean, I would probably watch it, but
Yeah, me too.
I don't think a lot of people are like me. So
Uh, all right. So should you follow your passion because the money will come?
should I follow passion or what? Sorry,
Should you follow your passion because the money will come?
should you follow your passion
Because
because
the
the
money
money will
will
come?
come.
That's difficult too because it's like I've always seen it as like you have passions and then you have like what makes you money, right? Like I'm not passionate about sales. I'm just gonna be straight up. Like I'm not passionate about sales. I'm more passionate about finance and creating. But I'm in sales because it's making me good money,
Mhm.
right? So if I was truly just following my passion, I would quit my job, right? And just do YouTube and create and not make money, right? So I would say to an extent, you want to follow something that you're passionate about and, stay close to it, maybe do things that are relevant to it. But I wouldn't say that going and like I said, going into $100,000 of debt for again, no shade to people who are this major, but that become film majors, right? And get into a bunch of debt to do that. Like if your parents are helping you and you can get a free ride, then sure. But if you're gonna get into a bunch of debt, I wouldn't follow your passion in that sense.
So no.
No, yeah, no, no.
Okay. Is money finite or infinite?
Finite. I think it's infinite
It's
because
infinite.
Jerome Powell, man, that guy can just print out as much as he wants.
Okay, interesting. Should you pay for your children's college education?
Yes, I think so. My parents did, and I think it takes a lot of weight off of their shoulders so that they can focus on, learning.
Okay. Are you going to pay for your kids' college education?
Yeah. Granted, I want them to, still apply for college, for scholarships, and I think that if there's a caveat to that, if they are showing me that they deserve it, then yes. I think that if they're just screwing around and not getting good grades and not doing what they're supposed to, then I'd be hesitant. Yeah, but I hope that by that point that they'll be mature enough to deserve it.
Okay. Should people in general?
If they have the means to.
Okay. Should you give your kids money and shelter once they become adults?
Shelter, yeah. Money, not so much.
Okay.
And adult meaning like 18 or adult meaning like 40?
Well, I think you become an adult when you're 18.
Yeah.
Technically.
So, I would say so.
That's when you can like work and become an emancipated minor and
Yep. I mean,
make your own way.
Like you're 40 years old and you're still living with your parents. That's just,
yeah, there are some people like that.
But I mean, again,
it happens.
I'm not one to judge. Like if that's how you want to live your life, then by all means.
But should you do that?
No,
as a parent, you should.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
So even if I was like in very dire circumstances, I would do my best to find any alternative than coming back and live with my parents at that age.
Okay. Are you stuck in the rat race?
Yes.
Okay. So the
yes.
rat. Go ahead.
I'm trying to get out of it though. That's
all right.
That's the difference.
Trying to escape.
Right. I'm not on the wheel, like the consumer wheel, right? So I'm easing my way off.
You're on a different rat race.
I'm on the rat race that is transitioning to financial freedom, I guess.
Interesting. So the rat race is real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But again, the American economy wouldn't grow if it wasn't.
Okay.
Right. We need people to spend money in order to advance society and continue the improvements.
Okay, interesting. Can you buy freedom?
Yeah, unless you're in prison. Well, even then you can buy freedom, unless you do like something really bad. Yes.
You can buy freedom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, unless you're like unless you literally have no like you're going to be in prison for life, then that's
you can do bail or something, I guess.
Well, yeah, yes, and there's some
bribery, maybe
certain homicide and mass shootings and stuff like that you'll never get out, regardless of how much money you have. So, yeah, I mean, yes, except for that one instance, yeah.
Yes, with an asterisk.
Right.
All right, last question.
But the majority, yes, yeah.
Okay. What would you do if you had unlimited money?
What I'm doing right now, creating. I mean, again, no offense to my company, but I would probably just spend all of my time creating as much as possible and helping as many people as possible and donating as much as possible. That's
you can donate as much as they need if you had unlimited money. That's awesome. I love that answer, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's not one that I hear very often. Yeah, I wouldn't just kick up my feet and say, that's it for me. Like I would get bored eventually. Like don't get me wrong, I will go on vacation and I will enjoy it, but I will also work. Wow, that's awesome, man. I love that answer so much. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So that's it, man. Those are the RFQs. Awesome. Thanks for coming, man. Now you have a I'm gonna shut up. And you got 3 minutes. You can share whatever you want. You can talk about your business. Yeah, you can talk about whatever, your life advice. I don't know. And you can use the 3 minutes or whatever. Just when you're done, just let me know. Yeah, sure. I guess I'll go to one of the pieces of advice that my dad gave me when I think I was like 6 or 7 years old, and he told me, Eric, you can be you can do anything that you want, in this world, and you can be a janitor for all I care, as long as you are the best damn janitor in the world. I'll never have a problem with that.
So really just try and strive to be the absolute best version of yourself. Um, always do what you do well to others as you want to be treated yourself. And really just strive to be the best that you can be in everything that you do, in every facet of your life. Be passionate about it. Really, instead of trying to chase money, chase freedom, right? Try and provide value to as many people as possible, because money will follow eventually. And yeah, just check out my YouTube channel at some point. I think that's some of the things that I'm going to be covering in the near future. Just getting started. Join the Millipreneur community. And I'm really, really proud that I've gotten to this point, faced adversity, and now here I am. So that's pretty much all I got.
Cool. That's awesome, man. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's just Eric Lopez -finance. So because there's a lot of Eric Lopez's, I had to put finance so that people could find me. But hopefully one day that won't be the case, and I could remove the finance and just be Eric Lopez, and people can look it up, and my name, my channel will pop up one day.
Yeah, right on, man. And your blog is, what's your blog called?
It's millipreneur.blog. So it's MILLI preneur, so PRENEUR.blog.
Okay.
And in those blog posts, like I have my videos, my YouTube videos actually like in actually on the post itself, so you could like click on it and also see the YouTube video at the same time if you wanted to while you read. So it's all there.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that wraps up the show. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe and like and all that stuff if you want to see more like this.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show, man. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
Thank you
so much.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.
Are we good?
Yeah. All right. So now we're in the after show. All right, Eric.
All right. Thanks for having me. Catch you later.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
That was so much fun. That was so much fun.